at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Hey, so I'm calling your show, 'cause I need to know. Show me which way to go before I throw my man out the door.
Okay, hold on a second, Keisha. Just let me ask Ronald exactly what's going on, because it takes two to tango, and I need to hear his side of the story.
So she's driving me insane, got stress heavy on my brain. She keeps playing silly games, man, I'm about to bring the pain. We seem to fuss and fight every day and every night. Please give some advice so we can see the light, see the light.
Grace is the greatest empowerment that you can have. Once grace enters your life, every little thing is, how do I become available to grace? Grace does not mean it's coming from one direction somewhere. As gravity is, grace is, but in a much bigger dimension, because gravity works only to a certain distance. Grace is the basis of the creation. But you won't be available to it if you have strong walls of individuality. If you become dispassionate, slowly the walls will dissolve. Now, it breathes grace. Everything in you breathes grace.
My goodness. Grace. It is necessary for life, right? Things happen. Things fall apart. Things come together. A certain level of grace. When you're successful, you got to carry that success with a certain level of grace, right? Grace could be likened to humility when you're winning, right? Or class even. And then when life is tumultuous, uncertain, painful, you got to carry that grace, or you got to carry that pain with a certain level of grace, something you have to be skilled at doing. Tonight's topic is going to be very interesting because our good friend in Miami, Florida, 305 Dade County, Hustle Habit, is the author of tonight's show. And what's very interesting about all of these topics, man, we're starting to pull the mask back. We're starting to pull back the veil of relationships by having these types of discussions. So when we talk about narcissism, right, we bring on clinicians and we bring on experts, we play clips and all of this to support the conversation. We discovered something called cognitive empathy that narcissists use, right? We're not talking about people with narcissistic tendencies, even though I believe this behavior kind of bleeds into that as well. So you don't have to be clinically diagnosed to perpetuate this behavior. Cognitive empathy, though, is something that is the narcissist is really good at. And that is behaving and performing as if they understand how you feel. Right? Behaving and performing as if they understand how you feel. Almost reading your body language and understanding that you're distraught in some kind of way. And for the type of society that we live in, I'm starting to see that this cognitive, behavioral, kind of transactional, behavior is not exclusive to just empathy. It can be applied to grace. See, when you live in a society that downplays self-work, I mean, everybody talks about it, and everybody can preach and pontificate on it, but let's just be honest. We live in a society that's bottom line driven. What am I getting out of it? How does this make me better? Like, that is one of the worst statements that, no, how do you make you better? No. Everything is outward, right? Everything is about acquisition. How can you make me better? You hear even, relationship specialists. Do they make you better? The question is, should they? Should you outsource that job to them? My god sister was just in here on Monday, and we did her topic last Thursday, which is the outsourcing of happiness. That's one of the worst statements that I've been hearing is, do they make you better? It's not their job to do that. You're spiritually lazy. You're spiritually lethargic. You want somebody to come in and co-assist your internal work. That's not how it works. So what happens is, because we're like this, qualities like grace become transactional. Tonight's topic, 50 Shades of Grace. An intriguing look at cognitive transactional grace. I'll give you grace if you earn it. I'll give you grace if you give me something back of equal worth. Do you see how comparison is embedded in the concept of equal worth? Ooh, the dark side of grace, how narcissists use cognitive grace and empathy to manipulate relationships. Can narcissistic individuals fake grace? A deep dive into how people with narcissistic personality disorder use performative grace as a weapon of social leverage. Ugh. How narcissists use transactional grace for power dynamics in relationships. Is cognitive grace just a mask for deeper emotional manipulation? Can transactional grace be the root of emotional disconnect and codependency in relationships? Oh, gosh, these subtopics. Grace versus attachment. How your childhood wounds are warping your ability to experience true grace. We live in a society that is predicated on get back, right? Revenge, right? Forgiveness is difficult. We already know we got conditional forgiveness, which might even be transactional forgiveness now instead of calling it conditional. These are all spiritual principles. If you get deep into the Rig Veda, the Upanishads, in all of the scriptures, even the Psalms, right? You get into Sufism. Everything is about letting go. Everything is about releasing that which torments your soul. This is why psychological memory has been a problem for many people, and why in philosophical terms or spiritual terms, you see these practices to release everything from the past. Grace becomes this tool. You don't deserve my grace. Listen to that. Grace is for you. You don't deserve my forgiveness. Listen to that. Forgiveness is for you. Do you see how you can get trapped in this egoic, wound-perpetuating mindset? From cognitive grace to self-delusion. How mindfulness can expose the lie of grace as a coping mechanism. Grace is not a coping mechanism. Lord have mercy. Grace is not a coping mechanism. Could walking and understanding what grace is, if we get into the etymological roots of the word grace, we find that it means a gift. Wow. Forgiveness is a gift, right? You have to understand something about gifts. They should be given from, and I want to say this honestly, because many people give to get something in some way. They should be given freely. They should not be given with a, do you like it? I thought you might like it. Did you get me something? And is what you got me as good as what I got you? Do you understand what we this little merry-go-round we're in? How do childhood attachment wounds influence the practice of cognitive and transactional grace in relationship? Can mindfulness practices actually expose grace as a cognitive defense mechanism in emotionally dysregulated relationships? This is crazy tonight. Now, I want my preachers and my church folk, call in and let's talk about what grace is. Is human grace, the grace we give each other and share with each other, of a lesser quality and value than the grace God gives us? How necessary is grace for being in a relationship with another whip, work in progress? Why have most of us never been taught to cultivate internal grace? What about the grace we show ourselves? How often do we show ourselves the grace we need in order to get through a difficult moment? Or do we judge ourselves, condemn ourselves? This is going to be deep. What does cognitive grace look like in a relationship? Is it possible for an individual with pronounced narcissistic tendencies or a formal diagnosis of NPD to consciously simulate grace, much like they mimic empathy, as a means of maintaining social leverage or self-fulfilling motives in a relationship? How do we grow grace? And once we grow it, how do we know if we give it away to someone that it will grow back? Whew. What is the meaning of cognitive grace in a relationship? What are the 5 characteristics of grace? Listen, we've got questions, and you already know. This is a non-judgmental space. I want you guys to call in. I want you guys to participate. I want to know what you think. How important is grace in your relationship? And once you give it, are you owed it back? when we come forward to Voice of Reason, we'll keep this fire lit. Let's get it.
Reasons. The reasons that we're here, the reasons that we fear, our feelings won't disappear. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
That morning chill means truck season.
5 more minutes.
No snoozing. Do it all in a Chevy Colorado or Silverado, including the class-leading range of the Silverado EV.
Talking to me?
Work, play, hauling, off-roading, a Chevy truck can take it all.
Okay, I'm up.
Get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Silverado 1500 and Colorado pickups when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 24.5%. Plus finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available at least in some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 9/30.
Around here, we don't believe in victimhood. We believe in raising our voices, amplifying black voices in the climate conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580. Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, I am D.L. Hughley, host of the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, heard weekdays from 2 to 4 exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. I promise to make you think a little, but laugh a whole lot more. So tune in to the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, 2 to 4, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You know you want some more. It's the Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
New York,
It's coming.
in Detroit,
It's coming.
in LA.
It's coming. No, it's here.
The Batarang.
Went through my pay.
Drug busters, you better beware and don't turn your head as if you don't care.
Because they got it.
They got it. They say they got you right in their hands and they don't need no proof. They say they sick and tired of snatching down bars. Cause on the tow trucks, it's making it hard. And by the time they get in to your pad, you done flush it down the toilet. And now they're mad, and so they mad as hell and take you to jail. But you out the next minute, cause you post bail. And on the very next day you say, what the heck? You get a letter in the mail and it's a DA reject. And you're jumping up and down cause it ain't no case. And to the police, that is a waste. But yeah, rock man, you'll see it soon. And you won't hear snatch, you'll hear a boom. You can't stop it, baby.
The Batarang.
The Batarang. You can't stop it.
So when we're talking about empathy and we're talking about narcissists, we know that normally those don't go together at all. They're extreme opposite. They don't have it. They're incapable. It's impossible. Well, when you read the DSM-5, it says, when we're talking about empathy, that a narcissist lacks empathy is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Because there is an aspect that narcissists actually can engage with empathy. And we're going to talk about what type of empathy they can engage with. But before we get to that, I want to give you an illustration. In a way that a narcissist might have empathy and not want to engage with it is the idea of understanding what they did is wrong and understanding what they'd have to do to be able to fix it and how that's going to affect them. Better example, I do something that is wrong, that hurts my wife. And she's sitting over on the couch and she's distraught, she's upset, she's crying because what I just confessed or what I just said hurt her. So she's over there crying, I'm standing here, I'm looking at her cry, and in my mind, I'm like, hey, the right thing would be to go over, apologize, give her a hug, say I'm sorry, you'll be there for her because I just did something that was hurtful to her. The thing is, if I went across the room and I engaged in that, it would actually validate that her feelings are valid, which they are. If I go across the room and I validate her feelings, then it also means that the reason why she's upset, me, and what I did, is also valid as well. Which in turn comes back to the aspect that I did something wrong, which activates shame, which activates guilt, and goes against the mask that I already have that I'm a good person. So therefore, I can't engage. And therefore, it would be too hard to go through that process and actually admit that I'm wrong and actually deal with the guilt and the shame that I have. You see, there's narcissists that do have a level of empathy, but they refuse to show it because of the aspect of ego death. My ego would actually have to swallow my ego. That ego would actually have to die for me to be able to interact with her and to be able to admit that it did something wrong. A lot of times when we're talking about empathy, we talk about the aspect of empathy being understanding, connecting, sharing feelings with another person, sharing experiences of like, hey, I feel that too. Well, right off the bat, narcissists typically don't share, especially not people, especially not feelings, especially not emotion, especially not empathy. Okay?
Hey, listen. I'm not going to get caught up in it. This is a narcissistic society. You don't need a clinical diagnosis. I'm just going to tell you right now. This is a narcissistic society. When you live in a society that does not encourage internal exploration, right? You guys have been listening to this show for 2021, 2024, and I've been saying you got to get some self-wins. You got to conquer these demons in yourself, and I've given examples of great mystics and spiritualists, and we quote everybody, Jesus, everybody gets shouted out here. Philosophers, clinicians, psychologists, everybody gets shouted out, right? And I've been giving those examples, right? You got to get some self-wins, right? You don't get the self-wins, you don't know how to be in a relationship. You just really don't know how to be in a relationship. You conquer your weaknesses. It allows you to be less judgmental. Why? Because you've been through it with yourself. That's a heavy way to look at that. I know, but let's go even deeper. We're doing each other a favor when we come together. Right? I'm going to tell you the purpose of grace. Grace is offering a favor. Right? Listen, you got a lot of mess that is associated with you. And I'm willing to deal with your mess. That's doing you a favor. That's showing you grace. And if it's reciprocal, right? Do you see what I'm saying? No, that's not how relationships are designed here. Our relationships are external and transactional. I signed up for these things. If you're not powerful, if you're not wealthy, if you're not, if you don't have status, do you see? These are things that can be acquired socially. But if you haven't acquired the equivalent within your spirit, right, you're going to be grasping for it out in the external world. And your ego will be molded by your accomplishment, which makes you think you are what you've accomplished. No, what I've accomplished is a reflection of who I am. but not who I am. It's merely a symbol of who I am, but it's not me in totality. Do you see? The word grace, late 12th century. God's unmerited favor, love, or help. If your partner's not showing you grace, they don't love you. And they're definitely not trying to help you. Please understand what I'm trying to do tonight. From Old English, grace, pardon, divine grace, mercy, favor, thanks, elegance, virtue. 12th century. Modern French, gracie, right? From Latin, gratia, favor, esteem, regard. Remember Carl Rogers from Positive Psychology? Unconditional positive regard? This is grace. Do you have it for yourself? And if you don't, you won't have it for your partner. So it'll be based on what they do and not who they are. When we come forward, the voice of reason is going to continue slapping you upside your dome piece on your way home from Jones Beach.
And you didn't even notice the battleground light. So gone that when they said it was there, you just shook your head and said, I don't care. Based out without no doubt that when they said give up, you cussed them out. And when your dope buster friends drove up in their car, you stuck out your chest and started acting hard. You took off your Fila shirt and your Reebok shoes and had the nerve to call the police a bunch of fools. You called them pigs, sissies, and even punks. While the bat-around battery needed a jump. And by the time it got started, you fell to the floor. And that's when the cops said they can't take no more. And you were so damn high, my little friend, that you didn't know your living room was in your den. Stop it, baby. The batarang. The batarang. You can't stop it, baby. The batarang. Went through my bed. Well, I was sitting at home about to eat dinner. Had a hard time at work and my day was getting thinner. My kids was in the room watching Mighty Mouse and my wife was getting ready to leave the house. But as she opened the door, she seen a flare, it was an undercover cop. He was standing there, so she hollered back to me, honey, come and see just who this strange man could be. But when I went to the door...
He's on fire tonight. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Island with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The Memphis Police Department routinely uses excessive force and discriminates against black people. That's according to the Department of Justice after a 16-month investigation following the beating death of Tyree Nichols in 2023. Pete Hegseth, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for defense secretary, is vowing to stay in the running despite multiple misconduct allegations. A new study shows lead in gasoline has been linked to mental health disorders and looked at blood lead levels in children from 1940 to 2015 and found disorders nationally connected to exposure to lead from car exhaust. General Motors CFO Paul Jacobson says the automaker is ready to shift its strategy of having an all-electric vehicle lineup in the next decade, saying that will depend on President-elect Donald Trump's easing of environmental regulations when he takes office. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Having the time of your life is more rewarding than ever when you visit any MGM Rewards destination nationwide. Dine, stay, play, and earn on all of it. Details at MGMRewards.com. Subject to earning and redemption limitations applicable to certain purchases and in certain states.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. Visit jpmorganchase.com/racial equity and get the tools to help reach your financial goals.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Award based on 2024 models. For J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 26.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 1/2/25.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom? She started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Phil Williams. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jack, Cadillac, give a dog a bone. Yo, don't give him nothing but a microphone. Don't stop, I'm not finished yet. You said I'm not the E, you wanna make a bet. Remember this, lounge you in the danger zone. I figured you would, now leave me alone. You pick and you wish on the 4-leaf clover to be the E-double-E. Over and over, you intrigued by the way I do my thing. Do what? We got the mic high and make it swing.
I have the capability to rap and chill, coax and tax MCs who tend to act ill. It's like a dig 'em smack. You smack me and I'll smack your back. I give get goosebumps when the baseline thumps. A sucker empty on ride. Now it's time for lunch. When I'm cooling on the scene, I notice one thing: I'm not bound to. So sucker MCs clean. I consider myself better than average. Yo, I rock the mic like a wild beast savage.
I'm in the boggling state, I can't concentrate. I make a move like chess, and I yell checkmate. You know why I get zanier and zanier? Because of the PMD man. And when I walk through the crowd, I can see heads turning. I hear voices saying that's Eric Sermon, not only from the women.
There's this exercise that you say when you look at other people and you say, I think is it that
just like me.
Just like me. Yeah, I've taken it to that could be me. You know, we've all used the phrase there, but for the grace of God.
That's right.
But
That's
I love this
another
idea of when you see something going on with another person, and even if you're just stuck in traffic and you're getting upset with them, you do the just like me exercise. Can
That's
you share
right.
that? I like that.
Well, it's really helpful. You can do it anytime. Like, for instance, sitting and waiting, you know, for anything. You can just look around at people and whether they seem stressed or happy or whatever, you can say, just like me, you know, we are alike. Just like me, that person really wants to be loved. That person doesn't want to suffer. That person doesn't want physical pain. That person doesn't want hatred coming towards them.
Right, just like
that
me.
person, just like me, just like me. But so it's very, very useful if, like, you're in these irritating situations like a traffic jam. It's so
or at the airports. People get so frustrated at the airport.
Oh, I know. So you sit there and you just start, instead of fuming, which gets you nowhere except, you know,
more fuming.
More fuming. You start looking at the people in the other cars or other people sitting in the airport or everything. And just like me, these people had someplace to go and they're being delayed. And just like me, they're fretting about it. And just like me, you know, they're just human beings who
want to be where they are trying to get to.
And just like me, it would really be helpful if there was some other way they could deal with it, you know.
Yes.
So here's...
Man, Pima Chodron sitting there with Oprah breaking down what grace is. Just like me. Is that not the concept of a work in progress? We are all fallible. Listen, can I say something right now? Listen. Regardless of what you've given your spouse, if you have never given them grace, you're not in a relationship with them. I know that that is a profound statement. If you've never given yourself grace, we already know you can't extend what you haven't given to yourself, what you haven't cultivated within yourself. You can't extend that to your partner. But grace is the ultimate gift. It is a favor. If a relationship is to survive and grow and thrive and blossom, we have to give the ultimate gift. But so many of us are so broken and so destroyed that we've created these barriers that we call boundaries. These impenetrable psycho-spiritual barriers that keeps the hurt at bay. But if you keep the hurt at bay, you keep the life at bay. In order to live, you are required to give. And the healing aspect of giving is wrapped in grace. The word itself means favor. You know the English language is a hodgepodge of many other languages, but it also has a bit of the romantic languages: Italian, Spanish, Latin. You know this, right? So in Spanish, the word for grace is close to the word gracias, or thank you, right? It's very close to that word. Again, it's difficult for us to give, right? Thanks. Listen to that. Yeah, learn to thank yourself. Appreciate yourself. Approve of yourself. You will have no room to give grace to anyone else. And that's a struggle. Transactional grace often creates a quid pro quo dynamic, fostering expectations that can lead to disappointment. Conversely, unconditional grace breaks the cycle of reciprocity, which encourages selfless acts that inspire mutual trust. Remember, in early shows, I said reciprocity has to be organic. It can't be obligatory reciprocity. Like, I'm obligated to give you something back of equal worth. That's not how it works. Reciprocity is a spiritual act too. And if we look at reciprocity in the context of giving grace, we have to break the cycle of, well, you gave me grace once, so I owe it to you. That's transactional, right? It has to be unconditional. I give because I want to. I give because I'm called to from a higher source. Selfless giving that inspires mutual trust, that will foster emotional safety. Partners feel valued, right, when their essence is involved in the reciprocity as opposed to their actions and expectations. It's heavy stuff, right? How do teachings from diverse spiritual traditions inform our understanding of grace as a relational practice? From the Christian to the Buddhist perspective, these spiritual traditions offer varied yet complementary insights into grace. Christianity emphasizes divine grace as a model for human relationships, encouraging forgiveness and humility. Hinduism views grace as the interplay of karma and divine mercy, teaching individuals to balance actions with surrender. Taoism frames grace as a harmony with the natural flow of life and nature, advocating for non-resistance in relational dynamics. Synthesizing these teachings can inspire a holistic, inclusive approach to grace in relationships. If you can't give it to yourself, you will not give it to your significant other. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Do we even understand the power of what's being said here? Dr. David R. Hawkins puts it differently. Healing always involves facing truths we'd rather not face and accepting responsibility we rather not accept. Should we want grace from our partners? First, maybe because we didn't get it from our parents. Our partners can't provide what our parents were unable to. We can't go to our partners for that. Sure, there will be somebody that can give you a piece of it, but do you want to become codependent? Do you want to become attached to the whole that was put in you, that you modeled in childhood? Do you want that, or do you want to cultivate that within yourself so that you can become a wellspring to others and magnetize others like you into your life? I've got callers on the line, and I want to talk to them. But when we come forward, the author of this topic from the 305, Miami, Florida, is in the building, and he's going to give us his take on 50 Shades of Grace.
Is it good to you? More Voice of Reason with Zoe Williams when we come forward.
Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses, like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
If you're facing an unexpected financial emergency, you need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com can help you get up to $3,000 fast. Simply fill out the form and get an answer in 2 minutes. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Trust the name you know. WeFixMoney.com. For emergency cash up to $3,000, type WeFixMoney.com directly in your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
Helping to broaden your political and moral imagination with our 2024 Climate Justice Campaign. We're KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You know you want some more. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams on KBLA Talk 1580.
Enough of everlasting. So the walls shake and vibrate the floor just like an earthquake. King T is back again, but with a new topic. I wouldn't listen too close cause it's toxic. A new format, complete with the tool. Even though I transformed, I stay cool for me to get taken. How would you figure it? Right off the bat, if you thought you would be ignorant or just stupid or cold dumb. I play lead vocals, Pooh plays drums, Keith does cuts, suckers get torn, but I got a break. Here comes the horns.
And they'll use your compassion as a weapon against you. I mean, we know that the people who suffer from the psychopathologies or manifest the psychopathologies that are associated with quasi-psychopathic trait are very much prone to using victimization as a weapon. So I don't believe that any of the conundrum that we're in at the moment in the West is strictly political. I think what's happened is that the predatory psychopaths have figured out how to cloak themselves in the guise of compassion.
Oh, don't do that. People out here faking like they care. You don't have to be a narcissist to do it. I know Jordan Peterson just said the people that are, on the pathological side of it, on the I know the sociopaths, we know on that side. We get it. We know they do it. But I posit that because we live in a toxic society, that we are mimicking the worst of us, and we're all doing it. Right? If grace means a gift, a favor, gratitude, thankfulness, when was the last time you thanked yourself versus criticized yourself? Do you see how that toxicity lives in you? You haven't given yourself grace, you're not going to give a partner grace, because they're there to feed an unhealed wound. Let's just get real about our relationships today. The state of relationships are, what are you giving to my wounds so that they can be quiet? That's where relationships are, for the most part. That's not to say there aren't happy people out there. That's not to say there aren't relationships out there that are actually working. But for the most part, unhealed people continue unhealed cycles. Dr. David R. Hawkins says this: the key to painless growth is humility. which amounts to merely dropping pridefulness and pretense and accepting fallibility as a normal human characteristic of self and others. When was the last? Tell me I'm wrong. How many people in relationships with good people because good people hurt them? I'm not talking about the bad people. But because you're unhealed, you don't know how to stay with somebody that hurt you. Ooh, I know y'all didn't want to hear it put that way. You don't know how to give grace. It would be like losing face to give grace. You'd rather save face than lose face. Right? Oh, I know you ain't ready to hear it put that way. John, Mountain View, Hawaii, get in here. Cook with me, brother.
Greetings and blessings, chat. Okay.
Here we go.
Since you can't see the truth, since you cannot see it, let me be an enlightenment.
Please do it.
Since you can't see it,
come on,
let me be an
Oregon.
enlightenment.
Come on, Pastor John.
Ooh, mercy. The simple fact is, people put money into a bank every day and trust it to give it back a return, even if it's 0.00001 cent on the dollar. But you in love with somebody you can't trust $700 to. And he's looking out for you.
Come on, man, I'm listening.
The whole point is everything is a risk. As Nikki said in the chat, you are undeserving of the grace. And that's the reason to give it.
Oof. Come on. I'm listening. Come on.
The point is very simple. And I'm going to say it just like the Bible says. Give, and it's given back to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Whatever you're putting it off in. So again, this is my testimony. The only reason I get to this show is because I'm not trying to get a return. I know what's supposed to be given, and I give it. And I know the necessity of it for giving it. It is the grace.
Come on, man. John, guess what you just did?
And since you still don't know the truth, there it is. I'm using the house.
Mountain View is in the building. You want to bring your city in the building? All you got to do is call me at 1-800-920-1580. Please understand what's being laid down in front of you right now. I told you before, love is not a verb. I told you, love is not a game plan. Love is not some steps you follow. Because if it were that simple, everybody would be in love. That's not what love is. Dr. David R. Hawkins says it this way. Love is misunderstood to be an emotion. Actually, it is a state of awareness, a way of being in the world, a way of seeing oneself and others. You can't see other people when you're unhealed. You see resources. You see opportunity. Listen, if I'm fearful, avoidant, or dismissive avoidant, and I know that intimacy and closeness is viewed as danger, I'm going to go with somebody that doesn't have those qualities. Oh, they're avoidant like me. This could work. I get to maintain my independence. I get to stay in my little bubble. Do you see what I'm saying? Are you paying attention to what I'm saying? That's wound protection. That's wound preservation. Do you understand? That's not giving grace to oneself. Listen, if a person is afraid of heights, typically, how do they get them to not be? They say, well, let's go up here. I'm going to go up there with you. And I'm going to stand with you. And we're just going to take in the moment. And let's see. Typically, they try to get you to do things that will get you out of your comfort zone. That's how you grow spiritually. Right? But what happens to most of us, we identify with dysfunction. It becomes the norm, the coping mechanism that we use to get through each day is the norm. The norm is usually stagnant. The norm is usually consistent. The norm is usually predictable. Do you see? Do you? I know people don't want to hear this, man. I'm trying to, let's take it another. God realization is attained only by great effort on the part of the yogi and by divine grace. So what is yogi? Union. That's what the word means. A yogi is someone who teaches you yoga. And I'm not talking about the people down here on La Cienega. I'm talking about somebody in the Himalayas, right? I'm talking about a real guru, right? They're trying to bring you into union with God. What separated you from your union with God? Your ego, the small self. So they're trying to expand you outside of your comfort zone, the comfort zone of self. I was born here, raised by these people with their particular dysfunctions. That has been integrated into my psyche. This is who I think I am. No, you're more than that. Do you see? Does it make sense? The term grace originates from the Latin word gratia, meaning favor, kindness, or gratitude. It is a gratitude, a kindness one bestows upon oneself when they push themselves outside of their comfort zone. To accept your humanity, flaws and all, is a very uncomfortable thing to do. But you must do it if you want to grow. You must do it if you want to be a beacon of love, a beacon of compassion, a beacon of understanding. If you refuse to understand yourself, if you refuse to accept yourself, there will be no accepting of your partner as they are. They must be as you see them, as you demand them to be, as your expectations demand them to be. Do you see how you're no different than the narcissist? You have a soul supply that needs to keep being fed. When I come forward, I'm going to the phone lines. We got callers. They want to talk.
To the side while I'm showing the professional skills that I put together with perfection. I gotta clear my throat, punch in a hard section.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Island with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The Memphis Police Department routinely uses excessive force and discriminates against black people.